gospel reading is one of those that is a bit difficult, because the truth is, I think that you and I like our Jesus meek and mild, the one who brings the suffers the little children to come and be with Him and holds that lamb that deserted in His arms. But that's not this Jesus. That's not the Jesus that we see in today's gospel. We think about Jesus' ministry as being about peace and comfort and love. But here Jesus says, I came to bring fire to the earth, and I wish it were kindled even as I speak. He said, you think I came to bring peace? No, I did not come to bring peace, but division. Well, those are not words that we like to hear. Those are words that we don't like to hear. Jesus comes to bring fire to the earth. Well, fire has always, in our tradition, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, has always been a symbol of holiness, of the divine, as we saw the burning bush with Moses and the Elijah and the chariot of fire that took him to heaven. The horses were also fire as well. I reread that the other day. Wow, horses of fire, that's kind of scary. And certainly the fire of the Holy Spirit, as we understand the tongues of fire that lighted on the disciples' head at Pentecost. So it is a symbol. It is a symbol of the presence of God. And we even use that today in some of our lingo. We talk about people being on fire for the Lord. And of course that means being excited and energized. But the truth is, this kind of fire is more like the fire of immolation as opposed to the fire of excitement. Because that's what Jesus is talking about, a fire that divides, a fire that purges and cleanses, but it's a scary fire. It's a scary fire. Jesus, with intention, I believe, disturbs us. This is not about peace. Well, the gospel, at least in part, is about peace and love and comfort and the grace of forgiveness. But it's also more than that. It's also more than that. It's about a totally radical kind of gospel love. And that's the fire I believe Jesus talks about. And that love, that gospel fire, is so radical that it divides families. It turns members of families against one another. And I think Jesus' struggle then, and the struggle in the community of faith now, is to understand the difference between religion and the gospel. To understand religion, the difference between religion and the gospel. Now, religion, the word itself, comes from the Latin word religare, which means to tie or to bind or to fasten. And what that's supposed to mean is religion is supposed to bind us, to tie us to God. But the truth is, humanity has perverted that and used religion as a way to tie God up into a nice, convenient package. To bind God to our understanding. And that's exactly what the people of Israel did in the first century, because they had all these wonderful formulas and checklists that they would go through, and that meant God was on their side, that they were holy, that they were righteous, because they did all this stuff. And so they were able to kind of take God and put him in a box and kind of set him aside and say, well, you know, we got the God thing handled, now we can go out and do what we want to do. But Jesus said, no, this fire of gospel love that I will bring is different. It is different. And today the same thing exists, because there are those who actually and with intention interpret God to meet their particular needs. To meet their particular needs. I think one of the things that the church has done, I think the church has sold out in a particular sense, in that we've promoted ourselves as being in unity with society. And that's just not true. That's just not true. The church and society can never be at unity with themselves. You know why that is? It's because society draws lines. Okay? The world, as we know it, draws lines. Real clear that the world draws lines and says, okay, you're in and you're out. And the world does that, right? The world qualifies who's good and who's not. But the church is not supposed to do that, because the church is the community of faith as God's chosen ones, as God's people, says, you're loved, and you're loved, and you're loved, and you're loved. All are loved. That's the radicality of the fire of gospel love, because all are loved. Well, the tension comes, the heartache comes, when we recognize and acknowledge that we are called to love others with our limited resources. Our limited resources financially, physically, and emotionally. Our love of all others with that limited amount of resources. And so what happens is that those who have first claim on our love feel that they get short shrift. Whether that's family, whether that's church family, or whatever that is. Those who have first claim on that love feel that they get shortchanged. And that's the tension, I believe, that separates loved ones. That's the tension that separates loved ones.